This Choircast podcast is proudly brought to you by RJ the Astronaut by John Turney, published by Choir and available now. Join RJ on his out-of-this-world journey filled with loving conversations, drama, and thought-provoking questions. Available now on Amazon.com. Get your copy and embark on an unforgettable adventure today. Dive into RJ's world where every moment sparks imagination and every page ignites curiosity. Don't miss out. Grab your copy now and soar beyond the stars with RJ.
Hey, heathens, you're listening to the Deadly Faith Podcast where religion and crime collide. I'm Laci.
And I'm Lola.
And this shit is demented.
The mind that was in Jesus, that mind is in me.
Without me, life has no meaning.
Why would God tell you what I'm thinking and tell you what I've said to my wife or my husband when you're not around? It's because I'm the pastor of the church and I need to know.
This is the only place where you can see truth.
I think we've
Sorry? Did you have a stroke?
I think I did.
Your hair's looking exceptionally grungy today also.
Oh my God. Yes, it's very grungy. It is
not like in a bad way. Sorry, that
shaded.
might have come across as like, it's not in a bad way.
I got what you meant.
It looks like that Tumblr girl vibes.
Yeah, it's because it's faded as fuck. I have not dyed it in such a long time. And when I let it fade, the ends turn blue. Mm-hmm. It's very blue.
I like it.
And so, yeah, and I just I have like no passion to dye my hair. One, I just don't have the time. I've been so busy. But also knowing that I'm going to have to go back brown is like kind of taking the fun of dyeing my hair out. And so I'm kind of like, do I just like go back brown now?
Do I need to do my hair crazy? Because I feel like one of us has got to have crazy hair.
I know.
I'll just wear a wig. I've got plenty. It's fine.
But I just can't decide like what I need to do with it. And yeah. So it's very faded.
Here's what you do. You do a little peekaboo stripe where your hair will hide it. It'll be like, it'll look brown on the outside. And then you push it back and it's a little tinge of purple.
See, and that sounds wonderful, except that's a lot of work to keep up with.
Or do purpley brown. Just dye it a purpley brown. Do a 3V, a 3VV. That would be good.
I have no idea what you're talking about. A 3V. Girl, you talking to me like I know your numbers. You got to send me pictures. I need visuals.
If anyone out there does hair, you know exactly what colors I'm talking about.
But I do, okay, this is another thing. I don't like my natural color. It's not dark enough for me.
Well, then make it darker.
But so it's kind of like, I'm not going to bleach it anymore because I'm going to have to get rid of the purple until I get out of my program. So, but I'm not liking how light my roots are. So I'm kind of at this point where it's like, do I just go back brown? But I kind of want something. I want to spend the money and like get maybe a balayage or some highlights or something. I don't know. But also I'm poor as fuck right now.
I love how often balayage is misused or mispronounced.
How do they pronounce it? Balayage?
Any way you could dream it up, they'll say it that way.
Balayage. I didn't know how to say it until my hairdresser said it.
Bali Mirage was my favorite one. It is a mirage, isn't it, guys?
It is. Yeah, I want to do something like that. But it's also costs a lot of money. And
hair is an investment.
Since I do all of this myself, it's not as expensive. But if I do any of that stuff, I'd have to get it done because I don't know. I don't know how to do any of that very well. I can do one solid color, but yeah, that's pretty much it. But yeah, that's why my hair looks grunge. Thank you for tuning in for that little segment of my life.
Deadly Faith Hair Podcast.
And I posted this on social media a month or two ago by the time you guys listen to this, because of my cardiovascular program, I'm going to be in different hospitals when I do clinicals. I'm going to be all the way in like multiple different cities. And so a lot of those hospitals, our school's policy is a lot higher of a standard for professionalism than at these hospitals. So I have to get rid of my purple hair until I'm out of the program.
And no, we don't believe that hair color reflects professionalism on this podcast. However, in their hospital setting and their class setting, it matters.
Yeah. And it's not the hospitals. Like there's like a big hospital around here that I could keep my hair.
Hospitals normally don't give a fuck. It's just school regulations.
Especially like I'm going to be in the cath labs. So like the cardiovascular text.
She's going to cast it up,
there's
boys.
such a need.
I don't know why I said that.
Well, there's such a need for them. It's becoming very much like you're not a dime a dozen. Like you're not replaceable. So like they're going to be a little bit more lax to keep staffed. So I don't see them pushing hair color. But anyways.
Hey, heathens. Fahlo Bracelets has an offer just for our listeners. Fahlo bracelets are gorgeous, colorful animal bracelets that come with access to track your very own wildlife. You can pick from all kinds of animals like turtles, sloths, sharks, lions, and more. Your bracelet comes with a QR code to easily track their movements online. The best part is that every purchase directly benefits organizations that save wildlife. I have a gorilla and a sloth bracelet. They are so beautiful, and I love the little animal information cards that come with your bracelet. Go to myfahlo.com. That's myfahlo.com and use the code LaciBean20 to get 20% off your purchase today. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to part 2 of Josef
waiting.
Fucking Fritzl. I did keep you waiting, and I'm sorry, but this is there's so much that goes into this case.
Torturous queen.
I'm telling you guys, I am not covering every little detail. So again, listen to the book. The book goes into way more detail, and you have actually like quotes from certain people. It's a good book. And I will Google it. So give me a minute and I will talk about it later at the end of the case. They did make a movie about this. I cannot remember the name. I'll Google it and we'll tell you at the end. But okay, Lola will look for it right now. I have not watched it, but that's how I found this case. Was the movie got recommended to me. I think it was like on Hulu or something like that. And it said based on a true story. And I was like, what the fuck?
Story of a monster.
Yes. So this is based off Josef.
It's literally called Josef Fritzl, Story of a Monster. It's a documentary from 2010, directed by David Notman Watt.
No, I think there's an actual movie, not just a documentary.
What movie is based off of? Girl in the Basement.
Yes. Type what? Yeah. Girl in the Basement.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. No.
Yes.
I mentioned that the last time.
That's the movie.
Hold on. I said.
I know you did. And that's what sparked it. I was like,
that's giving Girl in the Basement. And I watched, you know how TikTok will like give you little clips from like movies and stuff? Like certain creators will do that. Well, I watched a bunch of that just in tiny clip form because I was afraid of the movie. I still am. It was horrible.
Yeah. I have not seen it. And I think probably I want to watch it now after doing so much research into the case because it will make it that much more real and be able to like really put me, not put me in her shoes, but like to understand her trauma and what she went through. But before you guys watch that movie, let me fill you in on the rest of this case and what happened. Trigger warnings are pretty much the same as they were last week. Sexual abuse, physical abuse. We do have murder in this case. It's not very long. It's just a little blip of a murder. We do have an infant death that occurs and disposing of a corpse. Kidnapping, torture, and incest. So
very lighthearted.
There's a lot of shit going down.
As you can tell.
That's such a lighthearted case. Sunshine and rainbows, guys. Anyways, okay. So last time I left you off, Josef had trapped Elisabeth.
I'm fine.
in the basement or in the
behind
cellar.
The doors.
I'm gonna call it like cellar, dungeon, bunker. I call it all lair. Things. It's interchangeable. Same place. Yeah, lair, whatever you want to fucking call it. Same place. Okay. So we're going to snap back to there. So a few hours after Elisabeth had been left in the cellar, the drugs start to wear off and she starts to come to. It didn't take her long to realize like, okay, my father has imprisoned me. And the room that she'd been left in was 15 feet by 9 feet by 15 feet. So I want you to try to imagine that. I don't know if you have ever rented like a storage unit, but usually they come in like
just about
20 feet by 10 feet.
Is it like a big storage unit? Pretty much.
A lot of storage units are like a 10 by 10.
Like where you'd put a boat, a car. What can I fit in there?
Probably, I think a lot of this main storage. Okay, have you ever watched like Storage Wars where they open up this? Okay, so think of something that's like 1.5 those.
Okay.
And that's what she's locked
nothing.
in. 15 feet by 9 feet by 15 feet. Okay. It's very, very tiny. Okay. So just a little while later, Joseph came back to the cellar and violently raped Elisabeth again. She tried to fight him off, but he beat her until she submitted to him. Joseph continued to do this over and over and over again for the next couple of days. Every time after he would leave the cellar, she would scream and bang on the walls, just like desperately trying to get somebody's attention. Unfortunately, like I said in part 1, Joseph had soundproofed the entire cellar, meaning all of her desperate cries were going unheard.
It was all in vain.
Mm-hmm. And mind you, remember, it's not just her family that's upstairs. He had built onto the house over the years from building the cellar.
Mm-hmm.
So there's apartments. So he has multiple tenants. So there's so many people that are living above.
Oh my God.
While she is trapped under this freaking cellar. Now, Joseph's plan was to break Elisabeth, okay? He wanted her to fully submit to him, and he knew that this would take time, so he was strategic in what he did. He wrapped cords around her waist, giving her only a few yards of movement. So yeah, she's trapped in a 15 by 15 room, but she's only given the freedom of a few yards.
She can't even utilize the whole place because...
No. It was just enough room for her to go and use the makeshift toilet. That was it.
Does he have her like, what is she chained to? Or what is...
I think a bed. I think she's chained to a bed.
Okay.
And I think that was more for his benefit than hers because he wanted to rape her somewhere that was comfortable for him. Yeah. Mind you, he's like in his 50s, so like he's not young. Okay.
Oh.
Like he's not old, but he's also not young.
No. We should have a word.
Well, also, he would only give her scraps of food. Just itty bits of food. That was all he would give her. And this was all intentional. Like he wanted her to have to depend on him for her survival. And he told her that the cellar door, that big one that weighed a ton, he said he had it rigged with noxious gas and that if she tried to escape and got it open,
a lie.
It would release and kill her. You're all right.
Damn
we
lie.
find out later. It is a big fat lie. But mind you, she has no reason to not believe him. Okay?
I mean, he's done the unthinkable at this point, you know? So like,
the unthinkable.
That tracks.
And he's been violently raping her for years. So, you know.
Capable of anything. Unpredictable man.
He's capable of anything. So her time in the cellar took some getting used to. You know, there's no lights, like natural lighting. So she didn't know what day was, what night was. Like all the days are blending together. So it was very much like sensory, like deprivation, basically. And she also was suffering from oxygen deprivation because the air that was being pumped into the cellar, like I don't think it was actually being pumped. It was just like a tunnel, that was allowing air access and airflow. But it was so minimal that she was deprived of oxygen. And when you don't have adequate oxygen, you cannot, like you don't have energy. You are lethargic. You are tired.
And you can't think straight. Oh, man, that's a whole mess.
You need oxygen. The main way that your body makes ATP, which is our energy molecule, is through oxygen. There are a few other ways that your body can make it, but it's only for like spurts of energy. I'm talking either milliseconds or 15 seconds and below. That's it. All the other energy that your body makes is from oxygen. So oxygen is not only vital for your like body parts and like to stay alive, but you have no energy. And so your body is naturally going to take that oxygen and put it everywhere it needs it. And your energy level is going to be what suffers because it's more important that your brain is working, your heart's working, your organs, all that stuff, your blood's flowing. So she's very lethargic and she would just...
So she can't fight back and she can't try to get out because of that either.
Yeah, she's getting weaker and weaker. Yeah, exactly. Now, unfortunately, in the beginning, like I said, Elisabeth would try to fight back, but Joseph would just violently beat her until she submitted. It took 9 months. 9 months before she finally submitted to him fully.
That's a strong girl.
I tell you. I
cannot conceptualize that at all.
Girl, I'd been done within a month.
I'd be done within a week.
I don't think I could. What?
She was stubborn. She was like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. When she finally submitted, he stopped beating her and even the sex stopped being so violent. But unfortunately, he also decided to stop using contraceptives.
Stop.
He wanted to have kids with Elisabeth. He wanted to have an entire second underground family that he could rule with an iron fist. Now, Rosemary, we're going to rewind a little bit to Rosemary. Elisabeth does not come home. Okay? Rosemary was gone, and when she comes back, Elisabeth's gone, and she has no idea where she's at. She doesn't come home that night.
Totally forgot about the mom for a second.
Yeah, right?
Wait, doesn't she have siblings too? Or no?
Yep. She has like 7.
Yeah. So
siblings.
what is
7.
they thinking happened to her?
We will get to that. Okay. So she doesn't return home, and Rosemary's getting very nervous. This was August 28th, 1984, just to remind you guys of the date. So Joseph tried to tell her that, she probably ran away again. Let's just wait up for her, see if she comes home. Rosemary stayed up all night. And of course, Elisabeth doesn't return home. So the next day, they ended up reporting her missing. Over the next few weeks, Rosemary and Joseph went around town searching high and low for her. They interviewed everybody. They asked everyone that they saw, showing pictures of Elisabeth. Where is she? Have you seen her? Do you have any tips? Anything? No. Mind you, Joseph is out there looking, and the whole fucking time, she's in their fucking cellar underneath their house. And Rosemary has no fucking idea that this is where she's at. Okay?
Why would he even, okay, Rosemary at this point is a broken person,
She is beyond
She's
broken.
Fully with him on this journey of whatever you say goes. Why is he not telling her what's happening? Does he think that
to save face, and there is that a mother's love, she stayed with him for the kids, but by the time he got arrested for the first time for the rape charge, she had already had kids. So she was young when they met. So I'm sure she's thinking, I don't know. I couldn't do life without him. How am I going to survive? This is still in the 80s. So women can work.
She's
but
in survival
also
mode.
This is Austria. I don't know how different it is.
So he's just didn't want to risk it because...
I think he didn't want to risk it because the moment she finds out that he's hurting one of her children, she has no idea he's been raping Elisabeth since she was 11.
That's true.
So
something might click back in place for her.
It could be just what she needed to, lift the veil. Per se.
All right. I'm with you.
Yeah. So as they're searching, everyone is just assuming that Elisabeth ran away. She's done this before. Okay. Also, Joseph has been preparing this lie for months, and he used the time that Elisabeth ran away before to his advantage, and he was manipulative back then. He had already planned from the moment he was building this cellar. He had a plan in place that he was going to lock Elisabeth down there because he was obsessed with her from the moment she came out of her mama's vagina. He was in love with her, and it was disgusting. So when she ran away, he was like, fucking golden ticket. I am going to plant the lie, and I'm going to do it now and tell everyone she is rebellious, she's ungrateful, and she's the black sheep child. And he did it over and over and over again. So now she's missing.
I'm amazed at the long-term manipulation. He literally played the long game.
Girl, we aren't even there yet. Just wait. This man, okay?
This is not a man.
So, no, this is a blob of dead flesh. Ugh. Anyways.
I thought you were going to go into something so much worse. You said a blob of...
My brain just couldn't. Because even that...
Yeah.
Don't even call him cow shit because how dare you defile cow shit?
Yeah.
Like that. He's not even worthy of that.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Okay. But Rosemary, she is desperate to find her daughter. And so she went to a fortune teller because she's like, I just need answers. Now, of course, this fortune teller was probably not a really fortune teller, a real fortune teller. If those are real, I don't fucking know, okay? But it didn't help. She got nothing.
They don't call themselves fortune tellers. They call themselves oracles, and they don't charge for their services if they're a real person. And they real,
okay.
They're really connected to the divine in that way.
You know what? I would believe you more if you weren't out here trying to schling money.
If you market yourself as it and you charge money for it, you're not, first of all, you're not a good oracle. You're probably not very moral or ethical. So
agreed. I'm I agree. I know. of this shit. when
Big
I don't.
agree.
Big agree. Okay. Well, anyways, remember last time we talked about Elisabeth has a boyfriend. Okay. She had a boyfriend
God, I
from
forgot
school.
about him. Yeah, with the letter
Mhm.
and the okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, they were so cute. So cute. Well, after a while, like he wasn't hearing from her. So he, out of desperation, calls her home. Joseph answers.
No.
And he tells her she's not coming home ever again. Don't call back. And hangs up on him. Now, this poor little boy, he thought that this was Elisabeth's way of like ghosting him.
Stop.
Like he thought that she was just like, she didn't know how to let him down. And she just had her father do it.
Oh my.
He didn't know. And mind you, she hadn't told him anything about the abuse. All he knew was that her father was strict. That was all.
Jesus Christ.
That was it. So he went on about his life, heartbroken, not knowing the real story until all of this comes out decades later. Now, on September 21st, 1984, so this is almost a month later, okay, we're just shy of a month, Joseph made Elisabeth write a letter saying that she had run away and joined a religious cult. Now, in this letter, she says, I ran away, I've joined a religious cult, I don't want you to look for me, and I ask you to just respect my decision. And if you keep looking for me, I'm going to just leave Austria altogether. Joseph takes this letter, he drives over 100 miles away, and he postmarks it back to himself. Rosemary gets this letter, and at first she's relieved, she's alive, she's okay. But she's also heartbroken, you left the family, How could you do this? Okay. Joseph takes this letter to the police station and to tell them see, I told you she ran away. And they took the letter and they tried to do some investigating. He also takes the letter to the newspaper and has the newspaper write a local story about the situation and his daughter running away.
He's really covering his bases. Wow.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Evil son of a bitch.
Now, so this investigation into her missing persons case was minimal at best. They just looked into some religious cults, religious sects, to try to figure out who or which one she may have joined. But none of it was leading to Elisabeth. They were coming up dry. And that was pretty much it. They never interviewed any of her friends.
What?
None of them. Not one of them. They never interviewed them. Why? Why did you not interview her friends? She was freshly graduated, had a job offer, planned on moving in with her sister. She had her whole life ahead of her and she was excited about it. Why would she all of a sudden up and run away and join a religious cult when that was not something she had ever talked about, been interested in? What makes a child run away like this?
Yeah, they weren't using their critical thinking skills.
No brain cells. Not at all.
Neglectful police work.
Joseph would even go to the fucking police station and complain that they weren't doing enough to find his daughter.
Oh, that's playing the part. Very well played. You idiot sandwich.
He did so good. It's bad, but he did so good. He played up the part so well and he manipulated everyone around them.
You keep thinking there will be a loophole. You keep thinking there's going to be a crack in the story, but he makes such a solid effort.
He does.
Carry out this horrendous violent plan.
He'd been planning this for years.
Disgusting.
Years. Yeah. Now, Elisabeth's sisters were very worried about her.
Mm-hmm.
And so they spent years researching religious sects and religious cults, trying desperately to find out which one her sister was in. And he sat there and he watched all of his family be in so much pain and in so much worry and so much grief. And he watched them sit there and research for years.
And she was right below them.
She was right fucking below them. This is a real goddamn story. You see what I mean by the more you get into it, you have to remind yourself it's a real story. This really happened to somebody.
It's not a made up ghost story or something.
Stephen King would write this and you'd be like, whoa, motherfucker, way too far. That wouldn't happen in real life.
Yes, it would. And it did.
What the fuck happened in his head to make him fall in love with an infant?
His gross mommy, okay? His gross fucking mommy. there's more there that we don't know.
No, for sure.
That's my belief because it's just fucked up, okay? Now,
do you think that, just on a side note, do you think that he thought he'd get away with all this? Do you think that he thought he had it like
absolutely
planned to perfection?
Yes. And you know what? He did. There's only one thing that happened that he finally, that
it'll be obvious.
We'll talk about it.
The thing?
Yeah.
That like, okay.
Yeah. So on April 16th, 1985, Elisabeth turned 19 years old. And under Austrian law, she was now considered a legal adult. This means she can go where she wants. She can do what she wants. She can make her own fucking decisions. So what does this do? Closes her missing persons case.
No!
Yeah. Joseph is like, fuck yes. And he decides to celebrate. So what does he do? He goes down and he takes the chains and leashes off of Elisabeth. She'd been in them this whole time.
Okay, this is good news.
She's off the chains now, but she's still in the cellar.
Strangle him! Sorry. Take the leash and strangle him!
But remember, she's oxygen deprived.
I know. Okay, she's still weak.
She has no strength.
Okay. And no food.
It's you have to remind yourself. Yeah.
She's in survival mode. I get it.
Absolutely. And she's young. She's 19.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you're probably asking, like, how the fuck did his family not know any of this was down there? He had ruled his family with an iron fist for years.
They didn't question it.
His kids were so scared of him. One of them would stand by in the corner and pee himself when he heard his dad's keys in the door. Like, he was terrifying. Okay. So he set a rule. No one go out of my cellar. That's my man cave. That's my place. No one go down there. That's my private office. And he made it sound like, because he's an engineer, right? And so he would tell them like he was working on something like top secret and like private, and it was his plans and it was going to make him rich and blah, blah, blah. And so did they go down there? No. And you didn't even it wasn't even like, oh, I want to go see the forbidden fruit. No, you don't even go do that because like your father will kill you. And they were that scared of him.
No, literally. They probably, their punishments for lesser things were probably really bad. So, yeah.
And he told the tenants of the apartments and stuff that they couldn't go down to the cellar. That was off limits. They couldn't go to the garden. They couldn't go into the backyard at all or have any pets. I don't know why I said that's the word. They couldn't have pets. Couldn't have any pets at all. And if any of them broke any of these rules at any time, it was an immediate eviction. Immediate, out the door. So due to his very strict rules and it being fucking Josef Fritzl, he ended up having around 100 different tenants come and go from his places over the years because he was just a hard person to want to live with or be your landlord.
Live in peace with. Yeah.
He even had a tenant. And I have a hard time not judging this person. And like, there could be more to the situation where like, this was his only place to live. Who knows? But he even had a tenant that went to school with Elisabeth. And he actually knew that Josef Fritzl had raped his daughter, Elisabeth. And he still chose to rent one of these apartments from Josef Fritzl.
A hardcore judge.
I'm trying not to, but like I am. Like I'm so hardcore judging you.
Yeah, no.
And I just keep telling myself, there was nowhere else to live. I would rather live in a doghouse in the middle of a cow manure field. Like
I could live in a Walmart, a gas station. I can make it work.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Okay. So after this, Rosemarie, she falls into a very deep depression. She ends up gaining even more weight, and Joseph had already stopped having sex with her for years now. But now that she'd gained even more weight, he starts ridiculing her, and he would even ridicule her in front of other people. He would say things like, chubby people are below me. Excuse me? Now, shortly after Joseph stopped using contraceptives, Elisabeth gets pregnant.
I was going to ask, is she pregnant at this point in time?
She gets pregnant, but she miscarries the first child.
Oh.
She miscarries at 10 weeks. That's pretty far along.
Did she
you're
get
still in your first.
How was that?
No.
to like get it out? Like the
Nope.
pregnancy? Oh my God, that's dangerous.
He disposed of the fetus and then he blamed her for it. And so he punished her and turned off all the lights in the dungeon. And that was her punishment. For days, she just sat there in darkness because she had a miscarriage. Now, I'm going to mention this random. We're going to take a bunny trail for a second, okay?
Okay.
This girl, Martina, on November 12th, 1986, 2 divers find a body that was bound in a lake. And they found out later on that it was Martina Posh. Okay. Now, this was a lake that was nearby Joseph's boarding house. Okay. So by Joseph's like lake house he had. Okay. She went missing 10 days prior to her body being found. And Joseph was actually staying at the boarding house the day that she disappeared. When they discovered her body and her body was then later examined, they did find out that she had been gagged and violently raped. Her body had been undressed. She was completely naked and wrapped in 2 green sheets, and her clothes and belongings have never been found. Okay. I will say they have no idea if this murder is tied to Joseph. Even to this day, they can't pin it on him, but many in the area believe that he killed this girl. Like, it's the only thing that makes sense. I can understand where they're coming from. I'm not sold either way because it's very circumstantial. There's no hard evidence to show that he did it. And he doesn't kill anybody else that we know of. So
yeah, that would be a little far reaching if it didn't happen. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sold either way either. I don't know anything. But that's an interesting side note, and it's important to talk about her too.
Yeah, there was one other one, but I'm not mentioning it because I was like, I feel like it's way too far out there. But there was another one that they tried to pin on him. But I think it was just like people are trying to make sense of all of the murders and they just want to believe it was one person instead of like multiple sick fucks. That's, it could go either way. But in his 50s, though, it's going to sound like I'm kind of jumping around just because like a lot of the Cellar life is pretty much the same for her, but I'll kind of jump in. So I'm going to kind of jump back and forth.
You're good.
You'll follow me,
I'm not confused.
Though. Okay. So in Joseph's 50s, right, he is losing his hair. And so he decides to go spend a ton of money and get a very expensive hair transplant. When I tell you this man is the most egotistical man I've ever heard of. Not even man, it's just egotistical person. He is all about the appearance of not only himself, but those he wants to fuck. He is just all about the appearance. So he spends all of this money, mind you, like back at home, all of his kids, like actual kids and stuff, those that were left at the house and even Rosemary, like they got enough to get by. Like he made sure that the house was just running, but any other like luxury expenses were only on him. Only ever on him. In 1987, so just a couple years after Elisabeth is put in the dungeon, he starts going on Thailand sex resort vacations. He would literally leave her in the dungeon by herself and he would traipse off to Thailand because I don't know if you know, there's a lot of like underage sex and like way sex trafficking is like so
Thailand
bad
is
there.
a whole other conversation.
That's a whole other conversation. Okay. So he would go there to get his rocks off. And he would...
I'm sorry, would she have like food or...
So he would pack the fridge full of food before he left. And of course, this terrified her because he's the only one that knows she's under there. If he does not come back, she's dead. Period. End of story. And he tried to be like, oh, there's a timer on the door. And if I don't come back in time, the door will open and you'll be free.
That's not real.
No, it's not real. Not at all.
That was just to try to keep her a little sane.
Not. Just a little bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He even says this later on to like detectives and everything. And they were like, no, we searched everywhere. There's no timer. No, he did not do that. So these vacations, he took these a lot. This was not just like a one-time thing. And mind you, that's a lot of money. Okay. I just want you to just visualize or conceptualize how much money this fucking guy is spending. He has his upstairs family. that he is financially supporting. He has his downstairs, Elisabeth, and like soon to be a lot of kids down there. He's financially supporting. And he is sending all of this, like he's spending all of this money going on all these fucking vacations.
Where's the money come from? Just his engineering stuff?
Engineering stuff. He's making pretty good. Like he's a smart motherfucker. So
yeah, like,
but like that's that's an income to like let one family live comfortably. And he's like, I'm going to have all the families and all the vacations. It's like, okay, dude. Wow. Now, when he would go to Thailand, he would have sex with anything with legs.
Yeah.
Or not
that
legs.
makes
He
sense.
just wanted to have sex with anything. He was seen multiple times hand in hand walking with a 16-year-old boy. So it is believed that it wasn't just females that he was having sex with. And it was definitely believed that he was having sex with underage children.
Yeah.
At this time. I don't think that's far off.
You
and
mean
I believe
rape.
it.
He wasn't
Rape.
having sex.
Absolutely.
He was raping.
Yes.
That's all.
Rape. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, in 1988, Elisabeth got pregnant for the second time. She's now 22. And he brought down medical books to help her understand her pregnancy and try to cope with it and kind of like learn about what was going to be going on, all the changes in her body, what to expect and everything. Now, during her pregnancy, though, he became less violent. And near the end of the pregnancy, he stopped demanding sex from her because he wasn't attracted to her anymore because she was, quote, fat. I'm using air quotes. She's not fat. She's pregnant. Like, it's beautiful. But like, he was like, you're not really doing it for me.
Good. I'm glad he wasn't attracted to her.
Right? Like, at least she got some reprieve from him.
And you know what? She probably got at least somewhat adequate food at that point too to grow the baby.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a relief too.
Yeah. He started like once she finally really was like submitting to him, he started bringing down like
it got a little more normal with
Mhm.
it's like, okay.
Yeah. But when he would go out on these like sex vacations to Thailand and stuff, he would stock the fridge full of food or the pantries and stuff. But it was said that it didn't last very long. Like she would have to ration it because she was so terrified that he wouldn't come back. And they would be basically out of food by the time he got back. And so it was not good. Now, Elisabeth had to give birth alone in the cellar. Her first daughter was born and her name was Kristen. And she secretly recorded her daughter's birth date on a little piece of paper that she hid away. She didn't want him to know that she was recording it. I'm not going to give specific dates for these births. A lot of them aren't out there for privacy reasons. There is one that's out there, but I'm still not going to mention it because if they're not all mentioned,
it's not our business.
We don't need to know. I'll give you years and like time frames. You know, sometimes I'll give you months, but I won't give you exact dates. Okay. So Joseph didn't come to see his new daughter, for whatever the fuck you want to. I don't know. What do you call her? Granddaughter? What do you call her?
You don't call her anything. That's what Joseph, you don't call her anything.
Just
nothing.
No, the sperm.
You just simply, Joseph, you just die. You don't call her anything. Die. That's all.
God,
Jot
why did
that
you have
down.
a heart attack? No, because then Elizabeth would have been sexually. Never mind. Anyways, he doesn't go and see the baby until she was 10 days old. 10 days. And when he does come and see her, he informs Elisabeth that you're going to bear me more kids.
10 days after? This isn't adequate enough? Okay.
No. And it wasn't long after the baby came out and like her body started to go back to normal that he was like right back on it and continued raping her. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a lot more necessities that need to be had when you have a baby. Okay. There's formula, there's diapers,
you got the,
and she can't leave.
Teething stuff.
Yeah. She can't leave. So all of this is left up to Joseph. So he would drive miles to buy the necessities for the baby, along with supplies like food and clothes and stuff for Elisabeth and the kids. He was literally driving to different towns so that nobody around him would see him buying this stuff. And then when he would get back, he would sneak it into the garden entrance of the cellar. He did this with food too, okay? He would drive to the next town to get food or whatever. And he did this for years. This motherfucker, this is honestly like slightly hilarious to me that he did this. But if there was times when he like couldn't get to the store to buy food, he would just, he would break into his tenants' apartments and he would steal.
This is not real life.
No, I'm not kidding.
He would steal his tenants' food.
And it wasn't just like unnoticeable items like, I'm going to take a package of crackers or I'm going to take a couple eggs. This motherfucker would go in and steal their sausage. He'd steal their bread, a whole carton of eggs, gallons of milk. He was just like, it was a fucking free-for-all.
Tell me that he would gaslight them and be like, I don't know what do you mean? You didn't buy that.
They all noticed it and they were like, you have food missing. I have food missing. Like, it was the weirdest thing, but nobody could ever fucking figure out.
Who has the master key to all of them?
Right? Right? Also, one of the tenants was like, what the fuck is wrong with my electric bill? My electric bill is so high and I don't understand it.
Why would their electric bill be high?
So he brings his electrician friend over and they unplug everything. They're unplugging everything. And the electrician's like, I don't know what the hell's going on because your meter is still running. The house is not using, his apartment is not using electricity and the meter's still running. Joseph had tied the electricity that was going to the cellar. He had tied it in to his apartments. And so his tenants were paying his bills for the cellar.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Innovation excites. No.
Right.
Not quite.
Now, one tenant over the years did smuggle in a Labrador Husky. Now, I don't know how he smuggled this dog in because this is not a Chihuahua. This is not a teacup dog. This is a fucking Labrador Husky. How he thought he could smuggle this in and not get caught, I don't fucking know. But, you know, he did a good job with it and he didn't get caught for a while with this dog. But he said that when he did get caught, and Joseph wanted him out, he literally like came back home and his door was padlocked and he was evicted. And Joseph wouldn't let him get his stuff. And he finally went there and he told Joseph, I'm going to call the cops. And Joseph like freaked out. He did not want the cops there. And he was like, and he's like, Joseph like flipped. And all of a sudden he was like, oh, you can have all your stuff, and like unlocked it, let him get all of his stuff and everything.
Oh, shit.
Now, this was the only time that the dog met Joseph. And he said that dog lost it on Joseph. It was barking like crazy. It did not like Joseph whatsoever.
An excellent judge of character.
Right? He also said when he would take the dog out for a walk, the dog would always go to the cellar door and bark and sniff like he wanted to get in. I fucking tell you, dogs are smart motherfuckers.
Dogs are God. There's a reason.
Seriously. Mm-hmm.
Dog, God. It's the same thing.
It's the same
fucking thing.
It's the same thing.
Corporate wants you to tell the difference between these two pictures. That's the same picture. You haven't seen The Office still. You don't get the reference.
I know.
It's the same picture. Anyway.
I will watch it. I promise. Okay. So this Cellar, it's getting bad, right? It's been years. It's not great living conditions. It's musty. It's damp. It's gross. It's moldy. And it's now becoming infested with rats. So like as time is going on, their conditions in the cellar are not getting better. Okay. Now in late 1989, this is just about a year later, Stefan is born. He is baby number 2 and it's a boy. In late 1991, Elisabeth gets pregnant again and she gives birth to baby Lisa in late 1992. This is when Joseph decides that baby Lisa is going to go upstairs and live with the upstairs family. It was expensive for him to raise both the upstairs family and the downstairs family. Like his finances were just struggling to afford both of them. And
if you stay the fuck out of Thailand, you'd be able to keep a handle on it, bud.
Right.
Not that you should, but like, there should be an upstairs and downstairs anyway.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Now, he had found out that there was some government funding for adopting children. So I wish you guys could see Lola's reaction.
Okay. I got to get off this crazy train. This is not a real story.
I told you.
How? And
I know.
It's not even, this part isn't even like pre-planned. he just came up with it on the spot and he can still make it work. Are you kidding me?
And he makes it work. Okay, so what he does is he makes Elisabeth write a letter saying that the cult didn't approve of her having more children. And so she was shipping the children back to her parents and asked them to raise them. He took baby Elisabeth away on May 19th, 1993. And this rushed Elisabeth. I mean, absolutely crushed her. 1 year later, as her baby. 1 year later, Lisa was officially adopted and brought into the upstairs family. You know, she was officially adopted. It took a whole year for it. Now, he was getting $23 a day and about $225 a month in benefits. But you know what he found out? He fucked up. Because he adopted her instead of fostering her. If he would have fostered her, he would have gotten $1,500 a month. And he was not going to let that mistake happen again.
No.
Mm-hmm. So, 1993, Elisabeth and Kristen and Stefan are the ones down in the basement at this point, and it's getting small, it's getting cramped. And so he decided that they were going to dig a new passage from their bunker that he had built to the cellar of the old house that his mom had that he had torn down. Remember how I told you that they kept the cellar? This is where that cellar is coming back into the picture.
I hate it so much. Thanks.
You're welcome. Now, they would dig this passageway, and so there was like all these different rooms in this, like, and I say rooms, like these tiny little rooms in this area. And he had one that was like padded, and that was where he would like violently rape Elisabeth. Because over the years, it's just one room. So you have to remember, as he's raping her, her kids are watching the whole time. They were there.
They think that's normal.
Yeah.
They think living in a fucking jail cell is normal, actually. They think all of this is normal.
Exactly. Now, this passageway to the cellar, he forced Elisabeth and the kids to dig it. So they would dig it with like tiny spoons and then like fill buckets up with dirt. And then he would carry the buckets of dirt out when he would come down to visit them in the bunker. It took them 10 years. 10 years.
This is slavery.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if it wasn't slavery before, it is now.
Right? Yeah. Now, over the years, because of these conditions and the long-term effects of living in these conditions, Elisabeth and the children's health are deteriorating. They're constantly fighting infections. They have no access to sunlight, and they are very deficient in vitamin D. They're also only eating prepackaged food. Like they're not getting fruits, vegetables, any kind of like vitamins and minerals. Now, Elisabeth was really worried because not only were her teeth decaying and falling out, but also her children's teeth are decaying and falling out. She was really scared that they were going to develop rickets. And so she asked Josef to bring down a like ultraviolet light and then supplements. And he finally agreed. It took some time, but he finally agreed. She was like, we're going to die if you don't give us something.
I don't know why he wouldn't take, if you wanted to have a family downstairs, why are you not taking any precautions to like make them healthy? Not that this should be even a reality, but like, I'm just surprised you put this much effort into the plan, but you don't, I don't know.
Because he's an engineer and a manipulative asshole. Because he knows nothing about medicine.
Stupid.
He let her give birth by herself. Like he doesn't understand anything medical. He is, well, God made you to give birth, so you can do it.
Oh, Josef, I cannot wait for your next life. It's gonna...
Oh, I hope it sucks.
It's gonna tear him 5 new ones. The minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Razor blades up all of them. That's what's gonna happen.
Oh, yeah. Now, Elisabeth is trying to make the best of the world down in the bunker. And so she is teaching her kids, all of them, she's teaching them how to read and write. She tells them stories of the world above, but never tells them that they're trapped or that they've been captured. Like they're,
that's a good
locked.
Mom.
She was so good. So good. Now, in early March of 1994, Elisabeth gives birth to another baby girl named Monica. Stefan and Kristen actually helped with this delivery. I know. Joseph ends up taking Monica at 9.5 months old on December 16th upstairs to live with the upstairs family. He actually called the home and pretended to be Elisabeth and being like, I have to, I dropped my daughter off at your doorstep. Please take care of her. Bye. And hung up. And he fooled Rosemary. Like, she legit thought it was Elisabeth. She goes outside and finds the baby in Lisa's stroller. Because it had only been like a year or so, year and a half since, or maybe 2 years. I can't remember at this point. But yeah, well, I guess I have the dates. I have them written down. So Lisa, late 1992, she was taken upstairs in May of 1993. And then Monica was taken upstairs in December of 1994. So it'd been a year and a half at this point. And so, of course, Lisa's in a stroller. So yeah, baby Monica is just chilling in Lisa's stroller. Okay. She reports this to the police. Okay. Because they have to legally get the kids established with the government. So they report this to the police and everything. And she tells the police, you know what's weird though? She called the house and our phone number has changed since she ran away. So I'm very confused on how she found our number. Because it wasn't her calling. It was Joseph. She didn't know the right number. Joseph did. So he did fuck up right here. But it doesn't get him caught. When I tell you,
I was going to say, this can be easily overlooked, though.
There are so many times that he should have been caught. And I'm like, what the fuck, guys? So many times.
Slipped through the cracks.
Mm-hmm. Now, on April 29th, 1996, so this is just a couple of years later, she gives birth to twins. I just want you to sit with that.
Jesus, Mother Mary.
Just want you to sit with that for a second. She's giving birth to twins, unmedicated.
In a cell.
In a damp, dark, dingy fucking cell.
With other children present.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she's doing this birth all on her own, like she did all the other times before. Mm-hmm. Now, unfortunately, quickly after the birth, baby Michael, ended up developing some respiratory problems, and Elisabeth battled day and night to save this baby's life. She begged Joseph to take him to the hospital, but Joseph refused, even saying, what will be, will be.
Oh, fuck him.
Mm-hmm.
No, what will be is my foot up your eye socket, down your scrotum.
After 3 days, baby Michael passed away in Elisabeth's arms.
Rest in peace, baby Michael.
Joseph was so pissed that I'm going to trigger warning. He went and grabbed the baby out of her arms and threw the dead baby, into the furnace where they burned their trash.
I didn't know they had a furnace, and oh my God.
Yeah, they brought it. He brought a furnace down. Mm-hmm.
What is he mad about? He's the reason that the baby died.
Because it is something that could get him caught. It is something he didn't plan for. And it was something out of his control. So he's pissed.
How about this? Just don't do things that you could get caught doing. Just don't do a bad thing,
Don't be a fucking horrible human. It's like those.
It's super easy.
When you start telling stories of your trauma and telling how people hurt you or harmed you, and then they're all pissed off that you're telling the story, and you're like, if you didn't want to be the villain, then be a better person. If you didn't want me to tell this story, then you should have treated me better.
People are idiots. That's all.
So we're done with deaths. So that's one good thing. After baby Michael's death, Joseph seemed to ease up on his control and ended up bringing some supplies down to the cellar. This included more furniture, some carpets and TV, and more activities for the children. He even brought down a fish tank for them, and Stefan would spend hours just sitting there watching the fish in the tank.
That's got to be fun, though.
I know. That was
you never had any form of entertainment before, besides maybe writing and mom telling stories and stuff. Maybe a couple books. Who knows?
So he's got the fish tank now, and now they have TV, so they're able to kind of keep up with news and things like that. But also the kids are watching these thinking this is a fairy tale world. They're equivalating this to Disneyland or the princess castles and things like that we hear in our fairy tale stories. They're not
They have no idea.
Really?
They've never been outside.
McDonald's is a real place. Like you can really eat a Happy Meal. Like they aren't understanding
They probably don't.
that.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Now, I can't with it. I really just can't. He also shifted his view of Elisabeth and the kids and started viewing them more as like his family. He would come down to the cellar with gifts for the kids, and he even would bring down sexy lingerie that he would buy for Elisabeth.
No.
Now, it gets worse. This lingerie he would buy with a credit card that he had registered in Elisabeth's name. He would go online, order the lingerie under her name, and have it shipped to their own fucking home, addressed to Elisabeth, paid for with a credit card under her name. Nobody ever caught it.
How is this real life?
Why was her case closed? They could have been tracking the activity. I'm sorry. What is in Austria? Like a social security card?
I was wondering, I'm like, how did that not flag somebody? How did that not
right?
I don't know.
How was this not tracked? Because they could have traced the activity right back to their own fucking house. Okay. Now, in this padded room that they had kind of built off this hallway is where he would rape her. He would force her to dress up in this lingerie that he bought her, and then he would make her watch very hardcore pornographic videos. And when they were done, he would then force her to reenact some of the most grotesque and violent scenes. I mean, degrading doesn't even begin to cover what this poor woman's been through. After they finished in that room, Elisabeth was expected to go to the kitchen and cook for the family. After they got done eating, Josef would then go sit on the couch and watch TV with the children. He'd even pull out fucking photos of the upstairs children and talk all about how they're doing and how they're doing in school and all the trips that they're getting to take. What the
This
fuck?
is sickening. This is like physically nauseating.
Nauseating. Yeah.
Ugh.
Now, Stefan grew to be 5'9", but unfortunately, he would become permanently crippled because he was never able to stand up all the way due to the low ceilings in the cellar. Mm-hmm. On August 3rd,
Beat up your dad. Sorry.
Seriously. On August 3rd, 1997, Josef Fritzl took 15-month-old baby Alex upstairs. So baby Alex was the other twin. Okay. Again, this was reported to the police, but they did little to investigate it. And he's now collecting another $1,500 a month for fostering baby Alex.
Why are they not investigating this family that keeps coming up with babies from this person that has gone missing years ago? There's too many like weird or bad coincidences. It's like,
yeah,
you willfully looked the other way. It's not just like
absolutely
ignorance, negligence kind of thing. It's like you physically, purposefully turned away from this when you could have done if they had dug a little bit further, they would have seen.
All they had to do was like track whatever it is in Austria's equivalency to like a social security number. He was able to get a credit card in Elisabeth's name. It should have pinged fucking something. Not only was her missing persons case closed, but she's now costing the government money with these children she's abandoning with her parents. So why aren't they trying to track her down with that? Why is this? Also, this story was published in the local newspaper because Josef wanted it to be. They were praised. They were amazing grandparents, you know? They were raising these kids, which like, I will say Rosemary was like a really good grandma to these children. Like she's working her ass off as like a 60-something-year-old lady raising children, you know? And then you have Josef over here just being a fucking asshole. And Elisabeth all throughout town was called a horrible mother. She was known as this horrible mother, dumping her children off on her sweet, lovely, high stature in the community father.
See, you never know the full story. When you start hearing town gossip, just know you have no idea what's happening behind those closed doors.
Yeah.
It's not always as it seems.
Never. Now, the children upstairs got to live very different lives. They went to school. They made great grades. Monica, as a baby, had a heart condition, but she was able to have surgery and recovered very well. She got medical attention. They went on vacations to Italy and Greece, and they even got to invite friends over. So not only is this a very vastly different childhood than the downstairs kids, but it's also very different than what Elisabeth and her siblings had growing up. Now, he's, of course, aging, okay? But Joseph is, but his sexual desires aren't diminishing, okay? But his body is. So with the help of Viagra, his body's able to keep up with his sadistic, disgusting desires, okay?
I'm throwing up.
He's still going to brothels, okay? He's still going to brothels. He's still hiring sex workers. And there was only a few that would take him on as a client. And I tell you, these people had to be desperate for money because he was
needing the money.
Brutal. One sex worker said that one of his favorite things to do was to use the brothel's dungeon. I don't even have words. I don't even fucking have words. Yes.
Yeah. But also, of course, he would want to use the dungeon.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it gets worse. He wanted to use the dungeon where he could tie the sex workers up to crosses. I will never look at a cross the same way again.
I have to leave the state immediately.
I have to leave. The universe.
I got to walk that one off because that one's I don't want that to, no.
Now I'm going to jump to another story, but it does play into this. Okay. So on March 2nd of 1998, Natasha Kampuch is kidnapped at 10 years old, and her kidnapper held her captive as his sex slave for years. She was able to escape on August 23rd, 2006. So she was in captivity for 8 years. Her kidnapper, Wolfgang Proklif, I don't know how you say his last name. When she escaped, he ended up stepping in front of a train and killing himself because he didn't want to go to prison. Okay. Elisabeth is watching this on TV when Natasha escapes, and she's seeing this story play out. It was literally like the town over that this has happened. Okay. The odds. I don't know. But she's watching this.
That must be just
unfold.
A whole range of emotions. Just like,
I can't. Mm-hmm.
Yes, she made it out, but like, when am I going to get my freedom?
Yeah.
Will it happen for me? It just like, you create this reality where like, she's trying to make things normal for her kids that are there, and she probably has like settled into this, like, she has to accept the reality at hand, but it just brings it all back up. Like, it doesn't have to be this way. It shouldn't be this way.
Yeah, it shouldn't be this way. Now, mind you, when Natasha went into captivity, it was March of 1998. She had already been, Elisabeth had already been in the dungeon for over a decade at this point. And Natasha escaped in August of 2006. This is just 2 years prior to her finally being escaping. 22 years. By the time Natasha escapes, she'd already been in captivity for 22 years. Elisabeth had 22 years.
You've got to get me to the freedom, freedom ride. You got to take me there. I'm ready.
Yes. So finances. Let's talk about that for a second. Over the years, Joseph would remortgage his home and his properties. He had to keep that money coming in to afford this ridiculous lifestyle. Banks finally stopped loaning him money after they found out that he put Elisabeth on the deed to evade taxes. And they stopped paying, lending him money because they were like, if you stop paying, we can't evict you because we can't find Elisabeth. She's missing and she's on the deed. So like, we can't evict you. So they're like, fuck you. We're not giving you any more money. So he was in some, financial trouble. In the early 2000s, Elisabeth gives birth to baby Felix. This is the last baby born. Okay. Joseph, we're going to fast forward a few more years. Shit just keeps going down, right? Joseph is now 72 and he needs to end this bunker family. He's getting too old. He can't fucking do this anymore. And he's also growing super paranoid because he can't juggle it. And he wasn't getting the sexual gratification anymore out of Elisabeth because why? She'd been in captivity for over 20 years. She'd lost most of her teeth. She had bright red hair. It was now snow white as white could be. Okay. She's deteriorating.
He stole Womanhood, her girlhood.
He stole all of her.
It just got the life sucked out of her.
Mm-hmm. Now, he thought about killing them all. Let me just kill them all and we'll be done. Yeah. Yep. But he was like, I can't get their bodies in the furnace.
Oh my God. So that was the thing.
That was the thing. Well, I can't get them in the furnace. So he decided, okay, I'm going to bring everybody upstairs. We're going to just all go upstairs. So he makes this elaborate plan, and he has Elisabeth write a letter saying that she was ready to come at home, but she needed to work out some things. She said that she would come home in about 6 months, and he planned on just blaming the cult for their deplorable condition and their health. And he timed it, this goddamn motherfucker, he timed this letter to arrive during Christmas holiday so that, because he wanted this to be a present for his wife. What? I have no words.
You know what else makes a good present? A body scrub.
A
candle.
Yeah. Candle, something. Not
a massage
I don't
certificate.
know. Maybe you just stop calling her chubby and being an asshole.
Yeah.
Or maybe you can just do that. But unfortunately, so he sends this letter around Christmas. Unfortunately, in April of that year, Kristen's health deteriorated. It was getting really bad, right? And she had already been sick throughout the winter. It was a really harsh winter. They kept getting infections because they don't have sunlight or nutrition. And she started having a complete mental breakdown. She's having seizures. She starts pulling out large chunks of her hair. She's even taking off her clothes and clogging the toilet to block it up. She's gone. She's not there. She is just struggling. So on Wednesday, April 16th, it was Elisabeth's 42nd birthday, and Josef Fritzl came down to the cellar to bring her a present. And when he got there, Elisabeth just begged him, please just take Kristen to get medical help. She needs it. She's going to die. Please don't do this to me again. And he could tell by the state she was in, she's not going to survive. She's about to die if we don't give her medical attention. He still waited a few days because he was scared of getting caught. So he waits. It wasn't until Kristen lost consciousness that he finally agreed to bring her upstairs. Yes.
Oh my God.
He was so old at this point that he couldn't carry Kristen out. Mind you, she's unconscious. He couldn't carry her out by himself. And so he had Elisabeth help him get Kristen and carry her out to not drop her, but you know what I mean? Put her at the front of the apartment building house.
Oh my God.
This was her first time to see daylight in 24
years.
A quarter of a century almost. She put her daughter there. She had written this letter to the doctor, that explained the situation that he says he found. She wrote that letter, carried her up, and then she had to return to the cellar. She has kids down there. Okay. She has kids.
She does.
She can't.
Yeah.
So bringing them upstairs. Okay. How the fuck is he going to do this? Because he does bring them up, right? She ends up going to the hospital. So how does he do this? Okay. So while Rosemary was out that morning is when they bring Elisabeth and him bring up Kristen. And after that, he goes back down and he gets all of the kids and they end up all going upstairs and just sitting in the living room and wait for Rosemary to get home. She literally walks into them just this whole fucking gaggle of people that her daughter she does not recognize and all of these children she does not know. Just sitting in her living room. Hi, Mom. What? Yeah. It was an emotional reunion, right?
Of course.
Elisabeth and Rosemary are just in tears. And I forgot to say this. Okay. When the kids saw daylight for the first time, they asked if it was God and if they were in heaven. They had never seen sunlight
What is happening?
before. I know. Oh. Okay. So they go to the hospital. The doctor's like, fuck you, I'm calling the cops. And they get taken in for questioning. Okay. We heard that story last time. Elisabeth finally breaks. She tells them this whole story. Now, at the police station, before she tells the story, it took her hours before she would even talk to them. And then it took even more hours before she finally cracked. It wasn't until midnight before she finally was like, okay, I'll tell you everything. And it took her 2 hours to tell the full story. 2 hours. Okay. Now, of course, after this, they were like, what the fuck? So they go to confront Josef. He says that he never forced her to have sex with him. Never. And then he said he trapped her in the dungeon for her own good because she was going down a bad path. And so he needed to save her. When they asked him if he regretted it, he said, why should I?
I will give you a reason, boy. Pull the fuck up.
Right? Now,
come to Alabama. Let's talk.
Let's talk. Now, he was all the kids and Elisabeth and everything, they were taken to the hospital and they were examined by doctors to figure out.
Oh, thank God.
They were like, we need to figure out your health condition. Like, this is
get
not
him a
something we've
banana
ever
bag
seen
quick.
before. Seriously. And they needed to figure out like what's the best course of treatment, because you can't like go from nothing to everything. Like it has to be a very slow progress.
It's just like Ethiopian kids. You cannot, the ones that are all like starving and malnourished.
I was gonna bring up the Holocaust. So when
they'll die. Won't they die?
They will die.
If you like.
I think, I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong on this in the comments on our Instagram, but I'm pretty sure after the Holocaust, like after they were freed, they had to keep the prisoners like of war, they had to keep them in captivity to slowly reintroduce food, because they were afraid that if they let them out, they would literally all just die from gorging themselves and and food and things like that. Yeah,
that makes sense. Okay, yeah.
So
and it's the same thing here,
same premise, but like on a much broader scale of not just food, sunlight, their eyes. Like, can you imagine? Like, your eyes have never seen sunlight.
Oh, their eyes! I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Also, their skin must be so like
frail,
sensitive to like. I mean, even 5 minutes of direct sunlight, that can be.
Oh, I'm like, you just like barely open the curtain and they're like, I'm burnt. Like, I feel like that's what it would be like. Yeah. Yeah, I'd be like, I'm melting. I feel like it would probably be like that.
No doubt. No doubt.
Mm-hmm. So they're at the hospital, okay? This is some of the stuff that was wrong with them. They had lost many of their teeth. Especially Elisabeth had white hair. They found that they all had very brittle bones. Because, mind you, vitamin D3 is vital in your bones, in your bone making process. Okay. It's like very vital. So they're not getting sunlight. They have brittle bones. They had black gum disease, from not having adequate, access to being able to like, brush their teeth and shit. Many of them walked with a limp and were hunched over. Stefan crawled along the ground most of the time because it was easier since he was just so tall and he couldn't stand up fully. And like I said earlier, he was permanently crippled. They were never able to get that deformity out. Their speech was affected. Stefan, the oldest boy, and the youngest boy, Felix, ended up creating their own language consisting of just a bunch of grunts and growls. I'm not kidding. Like, that's how they communicated. And they had to like try to help them process out of that. And
firstly, that's amazing. But also secondly,
I know, right?
A whole new set of issues to deal with. But
yes. Yeah. Vitamin D deficiency. They had paper white skin. They had broken immune systems. Your immune system is very fucking intricate. There are so many different things that are coming at play. And when you don't have vital nutrients and access to sunlight and all of the things, it literally breaks down the parts of your immune system. So like, that's why they're constantly getting sick. They couldn't fight off shit. They had trouble with spatial awareness because they'd been confined for their whole life. So they had that. They had, Stefan especially had motor neuron problems. And they had weak eyes, especially when it came to sunlight. Now, it was assumed by the doctors that, and guesstimated that Felix would have the best chance of recovery due to his age, because he was so young. And it's true, like his body's still growing. He didn't have the damage that the others had. Like, his body has the best opportunity to recoup from this. Now, it's said then that when Rosemary found out about this, she ended up having a nervous breakdown and was hospitalized for weeks with major heart problems. Like legit, like heart attack the moment she found out about this. And it was weeks before the hospital or the police could interview her because she literally was like, she's old at this point. She's also in her, late 60s, early 70s. And her, what? So, yeah. Natasha Kampuch heard about the case and she ended up donating $37,000 to Elisabeth and her kids. And she pleaded for the public to follow suit because Josef Fritzl was $3 million in debt. And it was estimated that it was going to take 8 years and $1.4 million to rehabilitate Elisabeth and the children.
Tell me people rallied behind this.
I think they did. They ended up raising a good chunk of money, but there isn't like a whole lot about the exact amounts. But if I have to guess, I think the government stepped in and just paid for everything. I don't know. I could be wrong on that, but that I'm not sure about. The family at the hospital, they were in a private wing of the hospital, but because people are trash humans, they were swarmed by paparazzi. There was $1 million bounty for a picture of the family.
No. Why do people do this?
Because people are assholes. People are fucking garbage human beings.
We lose our humanity in moments like this,
lose
don't
it.
we?
Mm-hmm. Paparazzi were caught trying to scale the walls of the facility. They were dressing up in disguises to try to gain entry. One photographer had scaled up the side of the facility and almost got in, but just before he did, security guards stopped him and were able to keep him from gaining entry, but they ended up turning into a squabble on the balcony, and one of the security guards fell off the balcony and got severely injured. Another person at the hospital, one of the hospital staff, was caught trying to sell a cell phone picture of the family that he had taken at work for almost $500,000. He was immediately fired, and then after that, they said no cell phones. Mm-hmm.
And
they were like, no cell phones on the unit. They were trying to protect the family. This had gotten so out of hand that doctors and the family's lawyer pleaded with the public through the media to leave the family alone. Just leave them alone. And they said this could set their healing back so far, and it could also be more traumatizing. Please just leave them the fuck alone. Now, let's talk about Kristen. Now that they had found out that what her illness was stemming from, they could actually start treating her. They had a plan of attack. And then on June 1st, they were able to remove her breathing tube. She was eventually put in a coma. I think she fell into a coma, actually. And she was there for 6 weeks. And because of this, she ended up suffering from bed rest syndrome after she got out. And so she had to exercise a lot, PT kind of stuff, to get stronger. And so she had to stay at the hospital. I think the family was at a psych ward type mental hospital, and they had their own wing to themselves and special doctors that came and helped the family.
Yeah, they probably were discharged to a rehab facility after.
Yeah. And then, but Kristen was actually a hospital, in the ICU. And they would sneak Elisabeth out the back in a nurse's uniform, and they would drive her by ambulance to the hospital so she could sit with Elisabeth or sit with Kristen and be there for her as she did her recovery.
That's a good mom.
I know. A good mom and a good hospital that they are super trying to protect the family. Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Now for Josef Fritzl. His defense attorney was Rudolf Meyer, who represented some of Austria's most notorious criminals. And he also represented the Black Widow killer. If you don't know who that is, she ended up poisoning many of her, spouses and stuff to get insurance payouts. And then she ended up, her last husband, she blew up because the poison wasn't killing him. And so she blew him up and insurance payout. And she was caught, and this attorney represented her. Great guy. In jail, they found out that there was a bounty on Joseph's head for his crimes. So he was scared. He was a little scaredy cat in prison.
Oh, really now?
Really now. So he kind of kept to himself. He would ask that Rosemary and Elisabeth come visit him in jail. He like kept demanding it. Mm-hmm. And he said so that he could explain to them everything and see how they were doing because he was really worried about them.
Worry about yourself.
Right?
Worry about yourself. Your life is the life that's in danger right now.
Worry about yourself. Now, because I will never understand this and people are garbage humans, Joseph received over 200 love letters from different women. Mm-hmm. And they all said that you're good at heart. You're just misunderstood by the public.
Oh, no. Thank you. Jesus
and
Christ.
I say this with all the seriousness. I'm not making a joke. Seek mental health help. You need to submit yourself into a psychiatric facility because this is not good behavior. This is not normal. This is not okay.
I say this with the utmost disrespect. Fuck you. Get help. Go to a doctor.
Help.
Don't go near a prison. Don't mail a prison. Don't speak to somebody in prison. Just
don't.
Go to a doctor.
Like Bailey Sarian says, get better idols.
TM Bailey Sarian.
Bailey Sarian. Yeah. He also received way more hate letters than he did love letters. So like he received a massive amount of hate letters. So like
God's gonna cut you down, Johnny Cash style.
Right. In jail, he mostly stayed in his cell, only leaving for like 30 minutes a day to go outside. And on Sundays, he would leave his cell. He didn't want to leave his cell because he was afraid of being attacked by other inmates, which like...
Valid.
I would have attacked you too. He also, shortly after being in prison, he asked for anti-aging cream.
Can he just die? Can he just like not?
I know. He's still alive.
Can he die?
I know. Right. He relished watching the news reports about himself. I'm going to be a fucking armchair diagnosis person right here. This man is narcissistic to a T. This is narcissistic behavior. Okay? It is.
No diggity, no doubt.
Mm-hmm. Joseph was diagnosed with a heart condition. And they stated that there was a good possibility that he wouldn't live long enough to make it to trial. Now, there were so many things that played into this investigation and preparation for the trial because there was the belief that the trial would have to be delayed for 2 years, mainly because of trying to interview the family members. Their conditions were awful at the hospital. They are slowly trying to recover. This is traumatic. And so it was taking forever for them to be able to interview them, and they're trying to be as patient and, respectful of them as possible. But they also need to, try him. So there's just way too many things coming into play for this to be a fast, prosecution. Now, this shattered Elisabeth when she heard about it. And so she immediately wanted to talk to the prosecutors because she said that she was going to do anything in her power to keep her father from evading justice. When it came time for the hearing, it became too much for her and it was actually postponed. Like it came up to like the day of the hearing and like she had a breakdown and couldn't do it. Because like at this hearing, she was going to have to face her father and he would have the ability to challenge her entire testimony. And so like she couldn't face him. Like she couldn't do it. In prison, Joseph had started writing his memoir in hopes to try to make millions to fund his defense. Excuse me, what? Now, on Friday, July 11th, they had a 3-day video deposition, and Joseph waived his right to be present. Kristen and Stefan refused to testify. They didn't really need it anyways, but they all ended up after that, before it goes to trial, they end up all moving together into a home. So they all got discharged months and months later, and they all move into this home. And unfortunately, though, like a few months after they moved into the home, Rosemary was kicked out by Elisabeth, and she was told not to return. So the rumor is, and we don't know how true this is, but like, kind of makes sense. Apparently, Elisabeth was very upset that the upstairs kids were still calling Rosemary mom.
No, I mean,
I would be too. I would be too. And then the tension between, the whole thing, it just kept rising with her over time.
I think any reason that she had was fine.
Is valid. It's all valid. Okay. Her anger and her frustration with her mom was just growing. She kept saying, like, why were you so passive with him? Why didn't you leave when he was convicted of rape? Why didn't you protect me?
Her mom had every opportunity.
Why didn't you protect me when he started raping me? And then how were you not suspicious of the cellar? All of this is valid. 1000% absolutely valid. And I'm shocked that she was able to, stay close to her mom for even the time that she was.
Yeah.
I would have held some major bitterness throughout the time of being in the cellar. I really would have. Later on, police did find a diary entry where Joseph detailed how he had raped one of Rosemary's sisters years earlier. This is believed to be true. This man kept immaculate detail. He had journal entry upon journal entry upon journal entry. He had every receipt from the cellar. They knew exactly how much money he spent on it and what money went where. Like, he documented everything, okay?
Well, I can thank him for that. That's all I can thank him for.
Yeah. Now, they weren't sure if the murder charge for baby Michael was going to stick. So they decided that if it wasn't going to stick and if they weren't going to be able to get the murder charge, they were going to charge him with slavery using an ancient law. Because they were like, we're going to get you on as much as we can get you. Okay. In 2009, I'm kind of skipping the trial because it's pretty much open and shut. There wasn't a whole lot that happened.
I just want to know what his sentencing was.
Yeah. In 2009, he was sentenced to life in prison for committing incest, rape, coercion, false imprisonment, enslavement, and negligent homicide. He was charged with 3,000 rape charges because Elisabeth said that he raped her at least 3 times a week while she was imprisoned. So you do the math, some 3,000 rape
Somehow
charges.
I feel it should have been more.
It was probably
I feel
more.
he should have been charged with more, is what I mean to say there.
Yeah. It was probably more rape charges. But he got incest, rape, coercion, false imprisonment, enslavement, and negligent homicide.
Tell me he was put in Gen Pop.
He was not. He was actually put in a psych ward, which, just wait. Before I get to there, we'll get to that in just a second. Now, he says in an interview shortly after this, quote, "I was born to rape. I could have done far worse than locking up my daughter." End quote.
I don't need to know. I don't want to know what you could have done.
No. So I will say I could have done far worse than locking up my daughter. It's like, well, did you murder those people? Because they're both awful. But yeah.
You threw a baby into a furnace.
You threw a baby. Yeah, absolutely. Now, if you ever Google this, he is known as the Monster of Amstetten is the place in Austria where this happened. So now we're going to fast forward to 2002. In 2002, he petitioned to be transferred to a regular prison as he has spent the past 14 years in a psychiatric hospital with very, very strict conditions and controls. So he wants to be in Gen Pop. But they don't want him in Gen. They don't want him in Gen Pop. They want him in the psych ward because it's more. I don't think it's as cushy as we would think wherever he's at. In 2002, though, when he requested this, it was rejected. Then in January of 2024, yes, just a few months ago, his transfer was granted due to a psych eval saying he isn't a threat anymore. And it was noted he was now suffering with dementia. Now I'm going to quote an article. It says, an Austrian man who had kept his daughters captive for 24 years and raped her thousands of times, fathering 7 children with her, can be moved from psychiatric detention to a regular prison, a court ruled on Thursday. The decision stipulates that Josef Fritzl, 88, will have to attend regular psychotherapy and undergo psychiatric evaluations during a 10-year probation period at the prison. Now, on Sky.com, I ended up finding out this was in March of 2024. So literally just last month. We're recording this at the beginning of April. From sky.com, it says, quote, the ruling, which could have paved a way for him to be released from prison into a nursing home, was overturned by the Vienna Higher Regional Court in March. The case was sent back to the lower court, which was ordered to establish more facts before reaching a final decision, which is expected in April. If I find out anything, I will put it in the show notes before this case goes live or over on our Instagram page. That is why I want him to stay in the psychiatric ward, is because if he's able to get into Gen Pop because of his dementia, he'll be able to be transferred into a cushy little assisted living facility.
Never mind. I don't want to stay in the psych ward.
Exactly. No, stay in the psych ward. I don't fucking care. You and your dementia fucking ass can stay in a little locked cell. Ugh. Now, Fritzl is now 88 years old. He gave an interview from Austria's Stein prison and telling the Sun, quote, I miss my family very, very much. I am sure that we are going to be reunited, and I think they are going to forgive me for what I have done. End quote.
So you know you've done bad?
Mm-hmm.
You say you can do worse, but you know you've done bad? Same
This was
forgiveness?
What was that, 2009? So he's been in prison for 16 years now? 15 years?
Oh, he's had time to reevaluate the manipulations.
15, 16 years. Yeah. So like that first quote was from right after he was. And he's got dementia. So it's like, you're not even who you are.
I'll tell you, dementia is a horrible, horrible thing.
It's awful.
My great-grandmother has it. Other family members have died from it. And it's horrible. I would only wish it on this person. I'm so happy he has it. I hope it eats him alive.
I do too.
I hope he eats his own feces. Like, that's what I hope he gets so confused that he eats his own shit.
And then he gets an infection from it. And the infection is so bad, but it just puts him on the edge of a death's door. But they break it won't
let him go through. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I hope he lives a really, really long time, actually.
He's 88.
I hope he lives so much longer.
I do too. I want him to suffer.
115.
I think they're going to forgive me for what I have done. Fuck you. Fuck you. No, fuck you.
Well, I hope Elisabeth and the kids are doing okay now. I hope that they're still on the...
Elizabeth's family, they have never been photographed. Okay.
Excellent.
So we will not have pictures of them. I will try to get some pictures up of the cellar so you can kind of see. But yeah.
There's some beautiful pictures of Elisabeth online.
When she's younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one of her when she's older.
Before she was trapped, right? Yeah. So we'll put up what pictures we can. But yeah, that will be it. So yeah, if Kristen was not as sick as she was,
who knows what would have happened?
He would have never been caught. I don't think he would have ever been caught.
Damn.
Unless she finally broke after they came upstairs. Who knows what would have happened, but...
Blaming it on a cult. I mean, we can blame a lot on cults, but come on.
Right. And remember, guys, he went to church this whole time. Before, after.
I hate him.
Yep. Anyways, I'm glad this one's over.
I'm so happy it's over.
Me too. So let's go to palate cleansers. Do you want to do yours first?
Yeah. It's just...
I don't know what Liz's is, but she was laughing before we started recording. So now I'm curious.
Well, at first I didn't have a palate cleanser. And then I was like, I got to think of one. And so I Googled smut language. So like, obviously there's a lot of words that like are associated with smut.
Yes.
But here's just a couple of... I'm fine. It's just a couple of like, okay, this is smut language for specifically describing what a person looks like.
Okay.
Blissed out.
Okay.
Eyes rolled back in head.
Oh.
Flushed.
Yeah.
Glistening.
You are turning red. I just
gaping.
Gaping.
Squirming. Okay, that's all.
That's all.
I can't do it anymore.
Oh my gosh. Seriously, I'm loving ACOTAR. I'm still only on book 2. I've been swamped. But I'm going to be
the best books,
I'm going to be
You can live there. It's fine if you live there a while.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I am going to be consuming it during the summer because I only have one super easy class. Also, this is completely random. This is not my palate cleanser, but I want to shout it out because I love Elena Urquhart from Morbid. Her second book from her series.
Oh, yeah.
It comes out in September. It's available for pre-order right now everywhere. Oh, I bought that bitch so fast. The Butcher and the The Butcher and the Wren is her first one. And then The Butcher Game is the second one. And she said that it's going to be a series and it's so good. It's fictional, but it's true crime. It's so good. So good. Absolutely love her.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, shameless plug for my friend that doesn't know that I'm her friend.
Eventually, they'll
that I
notice
want to be her friend.
Eventually. We've got Rainn Wilson in our corner.
I know. I'm so excited. Oh, yeah. I'll throw that in here. Guys, I was asked to be one of the guest panelists for the Heretic Happy Hour relaunch. And there's a bunch of us that are going to be on that podcast. I'm going to be going on like every quarter or so, helping with an episode. And I'm super excited about it. And one of the panelists is Rainn Wilson. If you don't know who that is, he plays Dwight from The Office. And I'm so excited. I don't know if I'll record an episode with him at all, but like I'm going to try to put in a good word and be like, hey, can you put us on an episode together? Because like,
listen,
I kind of want to meet that.
Everyone's going to be doing that. But also, I hope that you get this.
There's a good amount of us that are on that are panelists and stuff. But I'm really, really excited to be out there. I'm also, I swear I put too much on my plate, but I'm also taking on some interviews. I'm going to try to do like once a month, maybe once every 2 months with Back to the Vax. If you follow me on social media, I do like pro-vax stuff. I haven't done that in a really long time, but they need help with interviews. And so I'm going to try to, help them out with that. So I might be on some interviews as well. I'll let you guys know when I'm out on them and I'll link them below so you can listen to them if you're interested in that part of my story. But yeah. Anyways, that has nothing to do with my palate cleanser, but I have to tell my palate cleanser. Okay, because I am doing a slight experiment. Okay? So yesterday, we have this in our driveway. We have this cement little wall. It's like, goes to like your knees. It's just like, it's not very tall. It's leaning over just slightly. It needs to get redone. It's a plan. We'll get to it. We've lived here for over 1.5 years and I've never hit it, okay? I've done so good. Tyler hit it before I did, which is saying a lot, okay? Like, he is a good driver. I fucking hit it yesterday.
Oh, God.
She hit it. And I didn't cause like a lot of damage, but like I definitely did scratch up the backside of my, it's there. And like the most of the damage is on this like plastic part, which is like, that's great. But my husband's just like stressed out about other stuff. So I was like, I'm just like not going to tell him.
You know, he listens to this like religiously.
I know. So I'm trying to I'm trying to figure out if he finds out, if he sees it on my car before this episode comes out.
Oh, that's a good experiment. Everybody quiet.
They're quiet. And I just can't imagine like the phone call I get after he listens to this and be like, so I just listened to the episode. I'm like,
Somehow I have a feeling he's going to notice it beforehand, but
I know. Cause it's a good month before this one comes out.
I'm excited for the results of this.
He'll be fine. Like it's not a big deal or anything.
Still, but I'm excited.
I just like, you know what? Let's just have fun with this. But yeah. Anyways, that's it. I don't know what next week's episode is. This one's kind of consumed me, but we'll be back next week.
We won't say anything more because it's a good one. It's a real good one.
Oh, yeah. I better get into it. And also, we'll probably make announcements about this stuff in maybe prior episodes than this. I don't know. We'll see as stuff comes out. We might do some pre-recordings. But if you haven't heard it in an episode before this, we have some fun things in store that we're working on. We're doing some shindigging. So keep your ear out. Unless we've already told you.
Just the one.
Yeah, just
the one that your AirPod is in right now. Keep that ear out for us.
Keep that ear out for us.
Thanks so much.
Anyways, we will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.
Also, heathens, if you're enjoying the show so far, please remember to subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to us on. Like us, follow us, kiss us, don't really. Bring the blood sacrifice to the ritual. Bring your sage, bring your Bible. I don't know. Bring it here. Let's be queer. Deadly Faith is brought to you by Choircast Network. It's produced by Laci Bean and Lola Robbins and audio engineered by Eric Howell. Thanks for listening.